Avengers Doomsday Clock, but based on the real-life concept of the Doomsday Clock, which rose after 1947, World War II, as the Cold War was setting in. Generally, the Doomsday Clock in real life is a symbol that represents the estimated likelihood of a human-made global catastrophe after 1947. So we're talking about the proliferation of nuclear weapons. During the Cold War era, there was always this threat of...
This is why I watch Charlie's videos, man. We're getting a history lesson in the middle of a comic book video, bro. Who else does that shit?
Mutually
Your boy Marshall Sama. Welcome back to SamaReactz. Today we're going to be reacting to the first Avengers Doomsday teaser trailer. Well, not necessarily the first one, because the trailer is supposed to drop on the 19th or the 20th before the first Avatar movie. Yeah, let's get into the video. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, do all that shit.
Welcome back, everyone. Big surprise, the first Avengers Doomsday trailer seems like it's hit online, so we'll do a breakdown of everything. There's a bunch of confirmations. This first teaser seems like it's mostly just focused on Chris Evans, Steve...
Yeah, so I saw on Twitter there's going to be like 4 separate trailers that are going to drop. And then the last one is going to be the final trailer for the entire movie, so we'll see. This one seems to be more of a Chris Evans, Steve Rogers character. Captain America, a trailer specifically focused on him. Then the others will be for other characters, so we're pretty hyped, man. We're getting closer and closer to Doomsday.
Rogers' character coming back after the events of Avengers Endgame. It's basically showing you what happened to him after he took the Infinity Stones back at the end of Avengers Endgame, then went back to live with Peggy Carter in the 1940s. Like, it basically just picks up a little while after that. It is probably no coincidence that right before this happened, Chris Evans did his best Andrew Garfield impression during an interview.
It's a Photoshop.
If
you remember that 2019 period of No Way Home, you know what I'm talking about.
For more Avengers movies. The version that's online right now is the most janky potato quality version. So
I didn't even want to watch that trailer
as much as possible, but it's
I was just waiting for Charlie's video to like break it all down.
Infinity War trailer. If you remember, it leaked out from Comic-Con 2014, years before Infinity War actually came out. Remember, Infinity War didn't come out till 2018, 4 years ahead of the movie. Marvel is now hitting a record with how little they're going to actually be marketing Avengers Doomsday and Avengers Secret Wars. Like, how can they drive people as crazy as possible without releasing any actual footage? The very weird marketing plan that you probably heard about that Marvel has is they're going to attach 4 different Avengers Doomsday trailers to Avatar Fire and Ash, and each week they're going to release a different trailer focusing on a different character. This first one, as you can see, focuses mostly just on Steve Rogers, just to hype him coming back. Next week, the teaser trailer is supposed to focus on Thor coming back. Then the week after that is supposed to focus on Robert Downey Jr.'s Doctor Doom, like Doom is coming kind of trailer. Then the week after that, the final teaser trailer is supposed to be like the full official teaser trailer. But over the entire trailer, you hear them play a somber version of the Avengers theme. Basically, Avengers Endgame music, just remixed a little bit differently to highlight him coming back. And it is meant to be the Steve Rogers from the end of Avengers Endgame, just a few years after he had been living with Peggy Carter in the 1940s. So we might be up to the 1950s at this point. The trailer starts with him driving his motorcycle up to the house where they went to live. It's the same house from the end of Avengers Endgame. He walks up to the door, puts his Captain America suit down as he walks in. It is the same suit he was wearing at the end of Avengers Endgame, obviously.
Don't worry, Bruce.
It seems like he puts it in a case and he just locks it up, and he'll wear it again when Avengers Doomsday rolls around, even though he won't be going by the Captain America moniker anymore. I believe he'll be viewed as more of a nomad version of the character, but it is the same Steve Rogers from the 616 Marvel Universe, the main version of Steve Rogers. This is mostly because they don't want a bunch of different Captain Americas running around in the same movie, and Sam Wilson will be going by the Captain America moniker during Avengers Doomsday. But because of the way time travel works in the MCU, what'll really throw you for a loop here, to make as many puns as possible, is this version of Steve Rogers will not have aged up to the point where he goes back to the main universe and gives him the shield, meaning that this Steve Rogers also still has a Captain America shield. So going into Avengers Doomsday, you do have multiple Captain America shields. Then there's a scene of him holding his first son. He had 2 sons with Peggy Carter that we learned about during Winter Soldier. The writers of that movie are the same people who wrote Avengers Infinity War, Avengers Endgame.
I wonder if they're going to be a part of the
Came
movie.
back with the Russos to
That would
write
be pretty
Avengers
interesting.
Doomsday and Secret Wars. There was a big time travel theory that Peggy Carter did eventually at some point get married to Captain America with some time travel, and this is all after Avengers Endgame, and the sons that she mentions during that, the boys, were really his boys, but this version of Captain America and Winter Soldier hadn't gone through that yet, so we didn't know that at a certain point he would travel back into the past and live a life with Peggy Carter and have these sons. So apparently during Avengers Doomsday, there'll be at least one mini Captain America. Then they show that typical end credit type of title scene where it says so-and-so will come back during the next movie, this time saying Steve Rogers will return in Avengers Doomsday. Not Captain America will return in Avengers Doomsday, Steve Rogers will return in Avengers Doomsday. The Avengers theme music plays again, and it's the same very somber piano version of the theme song, and then they show the Doomsday nuclear annihilation around the world, but because we're talking about the Marvel movies, this is the idea that Doom is coming, the Doomsday of the MCU is coming and counting down to the actual premiere. That's what the date that's counting down to is, the actual premiere of the movie.
Barry!
A couple hours before the trailer leaked online, the Russo brothers posted this to their account, teasing Avengers Doomsday again. It's one of those cryptic teasers where you can't quite tell, it's a little too blurry. You can let me know what you think this looks like. Does it look like a tree? Does it look like Loki's multiverse tree? Is it just some background prop? Because a lot of cases in the past where they did things like this during Avengers Infinity War and Avengers Endgame, the stuff that they wound up teasing was just background sets and stuff in the background of scenes that weren't really consequential to the actual plot itself. Like, they weren't that spoilery. Earlier this year, the Russo brothers did another version of this for Avengers Doomsday, where it was them just sitting in between sets, between scenes that they were filming. So I'm kind of expecting them to post stuff like this, like really cryptic, blurry stuff that's too blurry to make out for the rest of the next couple of years until
Yeah, we'll
Avengers
get
Secret
that.
Wars comes out. Like Avengers Doomsday through that, then through the production of Avengers Secret Wars. As of me posting this video, it seems like Marvel isn't releasing this stuff online officially, or if they do release it, it won't be till like very...
Yeah, people on Twitter have already started getting their accounts like taken down and stuff like that just for leaking the same trailer. So, you know, the Marvel snipers have already started moving.
Very much later after the final teaser airs in theaters. Christopher Nolan did something similar with his Odyssey movie, where you can only see the teaser trailers for it if you go see it in theaters. In Universal, will just like ban the hell out of people trying to repost it online. Marvel, please do not ban people for reposting this trailer. Very, very bad marketing strategy.
Yeah,
There've
it's
been a lot of
already too
reports
late,
about
bro.
what this Steve Rogers is doing during the events of Avengers Doomsday and how he's connected to Doctor Doom and the other characters. Part of the idea at the end of Avengers Endgame is that he was kind of soft retiring, like, you know what, I've earned myself a life, I'm gonna go live my life with the person that I love, Peggy Carter, in the past, and that'll be the end of it. But the report states that Robert Downey Jr.'s Doctor Doom blames Steve Rogers for causing an incursion when he went back to live in the past because he wasn't supposed to be there. And remember Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, the John Krasinski version of Reed Richards told Doctor Strange that when you go into other universes, other timelines that you're not supposed to be in, you create incursions, or it leads to incursions. So supposedly, Steve Rogers, when he went back to live with Peggy Carter in this alternate 1940s timeline, created one, and Doctor Doom blames him in that incursion that ensued for the death of his own family in his universe. This is also meant to connect with Franklin Richards for the death of his own family in his universe. This is also meant to connect with Franklin Richards. You saw that during the Fantastic Four post-credit scene, where it seemed like Franklin Richards was touching his face, and supposedly Doctor Doom thinks of Franklin the way that he thought of his son who is now dead.
That would
So
be
what the
messed
Russos
up.
are generally doing is adapting a version of Time Runs Out as they head into Avengers Secret Wars in the Jonathan Hickman version of Secret Wars, with a lot of changes, naturally. But generally the idea is that he has the same plot of Doctor Doom in the Time Runs Out storyline, where he is trying to save the multiverse, but he's also trying to stop other people from causing more incursions, and he has a really stabby way of going about doing it. One of those people being the 616 Steve Rogers, who's back in the 1940s, 1950s, living with Peggy Carter and this new child that he's had with her. One of the really interesting things, too, is that it seems like a lot of the plot so far that we know about focuses on the OG Avengers characters just in general. Like, you have Robert Downey Jr. playing a version of Doctor Doom, so he's not his version of Iron Man, but he's still an OG Avengers character who is like the main character of the movie, along with Chris Evans, Steve Rogers, who is the original OG Captain America. And supposedly Thor is the other co-lead of the movie, and everybody else are kind of like side characters. That includes all the classic X-Men that are coming back, the new Fantastic Four, the Thunderbolts characters, the Wakandan characters like the Shuri, Black Panther, M'Baku. So it is really interesting if you think about it that Marvel is going back to the OG Avengers characters
instead of trying to focus on the new
the
ones.
brand new characters they introduced after Avengers Endgame. What I think that Marvel is doing generally heading into Marvel Phase 7 with the soft reboot they're doing in Avengers Secret Wars and all the mutant stuff they're doing going forward is they're trying to kind of give themselves a Marvel Phase 4 type of do-over where they're like, you know what we're going to do? We're going to speed run through a lot of that Phase 4, Phase 5 stuff, and we're going to play Avengers Doomsday if it's like Avengers Endgame Part 2, and then we'll give a more definitive transition between what came before the Infinity Saga stuff, all the OG characters, and all the brand new stuff that we want to use to onboard a lot of new fans and get the old fans excited again about the stuff that they really love, namely the X-Men based stuff. There's a lot of Spider-Man Brand New Day stuff happening in the middle too. That's always going to be popular, like even a mediocre Spider-Man movie will still do well. But they're also trying to use Avengers Secret Wars, or like build up to that, along with Doomsday, as a sort of endgame level event for a lot of the legacy characters that didn't get their own version of Avengers Endgame back in the day, like Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man, all the classic X-Men. That's why they're focusing so hard on them in Avengers Doomsday. So what I think is going to happen over the next couple of weeks is that Marvel will retune their marketing strategy. I do expect them to release some of this stuff online because it just doesn't seem like it's worth it to force people to go see Avatar just to see the teasers. Everybody post all your reactions in the comments below and all your theories. We will see what Marvel winds up doing over the next couple of weeks. I'm hoping